The day my mom decided to change my body forever. I used to believe secrets were harmless things.
Small. Contained.
Manageable. I was wrong. My name is Ethan Ward.
24. Computer technician.
The quiet guy who fixes everyone else's problems while pretending he doesn't have any of his own. My apartment is a shrine to order. Neatly coiled cables, labeled storage bins, screens glowing in obedient silence. I liked that illusion.
Machines made sense.
They followed instructions. I didn't. Because when night fell and the city softened into shadow, the version of me that functioned so efficiently during the day began to fracture. It always started the same way. I would kneel by my desk and slide open the bottom drawer, the one no visitor ever noticed. Inside was a smaller box, matte black, unremarkable. But to me, it felt sacred, dangerous. Inside lived the truth. A honey blonde wig.
Silk.
Lipsticks in shades too bold for daylight. Foundation that erased Ethan's sharp lines and replaced them with something gentler. And that faint rose perfume that lingered like a promise. I didn't think of it as costume. I thought of it as Evelyn. Evelyn wasn't a fantasy. She wasn't a game. She was the quiet answer to a question I'd been too afraid to ask out loud. My mother would have called it weakness. Dr. Veronica Ward, brilliant cosmetic surgeon, relentless perfectionist, architect of flawless faces and rigid expectations. She built her reputation on control. She tried to build me the same way. Stand straight. Be firm. Softness is liability. Her voice still lived in my head like law. But my heart never followed her blueprint. Then there was Mia. Mia with her sunlit laugh and reckless kindness. She walked into my life 2 years ago and rearranged it without trying. She made me feel seen, but only the version of me I allowed her to see. She knew Ethan. She never met Evelyn. That was the problem. That night should have been ordinary. I told Mia I'd be late at the repair shop. She believed me, she always did.
Trust is beautiful like that.
Fragile too. I locked the door, sat at the mirror, breathed in. Foundation first. Slow, careful strokes, blurring the exhaustion, softening the jawline. Each movement felt less like disguise and more like alignment. When I slipped into the pink silk robe, it whispered across my skin like a secret finally spoken. The wig settled over my shoulders. Lipstick glided across my mouth. And there she was. Evelyn looked back at me, steady, luminous, alive in a way Ethan rarely was. For a moment I felt whole. Then my phone buzzed. Voicemail. My mother. Ethan, we need to talk. It's urgent.
Don't ignore me.
Her tone wasn't concern. It was command. I stared at the screen. Deleted the message. I refused to let her invade this space too. One night. That's all I wanted. But fate doesn't negotiate. Another buzz. Mia, hey babe. Got off early. Thought I'd surprise you. I'm on my way. The air left my lungs.
No.
Not tonight. I lunged for the sink, scrubbing at my reflection. Lipstick smeared into something violent. Foundation streaked. My pulse roared in my ears. I shoved the wig into the box, tossed the robe aside, wiped my face raw. Knocking. Ethan? You home? Her voice, bright, unsuspecting. I hid the box in the closet. My hands were shaking so badly the lid slipped. A lipstick rolled free, disappearing under the bed. I opened the door. Mia stepped in smiling. The smile faltered almost immediately. Were you cleaning? Yeah, I said too fast. Spilled something. She studied my face. The faint traces I'd missed. The scent in the air. She didn't push. Instead, she hugged me. And over her shoulder I saw it. The lipstick. In plain sight. My stomach dropped. She followed my gaze.
Bent down.
Picked it up. Turned it over in her fingers. This isn't mine, she said softly. The silence that followed was unbearable. My phone rang again.
Mom.
I didn't answer. But Mia noticed the name on the screen. Something shifted in her expression, not anger. Not yet. Just calculation. I think, she said, holding up the lipstick like evidence. We need to talk. And just like that, the walls I'd built around Evelyn began to crack. That night didn't explode. It unraveled.
Mia didn't yell.
She didn't accuse. She simply went quiet in a way that hurt more than shouting ever could. She left with a restrained, "We'll talk tomorrow." I didn't sleep. Morning came like judgment. Sunlight spilled across my apartment, illuminating everything I'd tried to hide. In the bathroom mirror, my reflection looked bruised by truth, smudged eyeliner, reddened skin, eyes hollow from fear. I wasn't just afraid of losing Mia. I was afraid of losing control. Because my mother's call, Mia's suspicion, Evelyn's existence, they weren't separate problems anymore. They were converging. And deep down, beneath the panic and shame and exhaustion, a quieter realization was rising. Maybe my life wasn't being destroyed. Maybe it was being forced to become honest. By the time the next morning fully arrived, I understood something terrifying. I couldn't keep being Ethan by day and Evelyn by night. Something had to break. I just didn't know yet whether it would be my relationships or the version of me I'd been pretending to be. My mother's voice wouldn't leave me alone. "It's urgent, Ethan." Not worried. Not emotional.
Strategic.
She never asked for conversations, she summoned them. And when she called something urgent, it usually meant she had already decided the outcome. I stood in my kitchen the next morning holding a cup of coffee that might as well have been water. I couldn't taste anything. My apartment looked like a crime scene where two identities had collided and neither survived. A soldering iron sat beside a half-empty bottle of rose perfume. A crumpled makeup wipe clung to the edge of my laptop. Ethan and Evelyn, bleeding into each other. Then my phone lit up again. A message. From her. "I know what you've been doing. We need to fix this before it ruins you." The words hollowed me out. She knew. But how? Only Mia had seen the faintest trace, and even she hadn't seen everything. Unless she'd told her. Unless my worlds had already merged behind my back. A wave of cold panic rolled through me. I grabbed my jacket and keys without thinking. I hadn't stepped foot in my mother's house in months. I'd promised myself I wouldn't. Yet 20 minutes later, I was driving up the winding hill toward the glass and marble monument she called home. It didn't look like a house. It looked like a showroom. Clean lines. No warmth. No imperfection. The front door unlocked with my old access code. Inside, the air smelled like antiseptic and polished stone. "Mother?" I called. Downstairs. Of course. Downstairs meant the clinic. The private surgical suite she'd built beneath the house. The place where she sculpted strangers into perfection. My pulse thudded as I descended the spiral staircase. Each step felt like walking deeper into something irreversible. The room glowed in sterile, white light. There she was. Dr. Veronica Ward, flawless posture, immaculate white coat, gloves already fitted like she'd been preparing for something. "For me." "Ethan," she said, not looking up from her tablet. "You've been hiding something."
My mouth went dry.
"I don't know what you mean."
She turned then.
Her eyes didn't look angry. They looked clinical. "I found your photos." The air left my lungs. "What photos?" "Your old hard drive," she replied calmly. "Don't insult me by pretending. You've been dressing as a woman." The word woman left her mouth like a diagnosis. I felt the room tilt. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," she cut in. "You're confused. But confusion can be corrected." Corrected. The word struck harder than a slap. She stepped closer, lowering her voice as if offering comfort. "You're sick, Ethan. But it's not too late." My chest tightened. "Sick?" "I've been researching treatments," she continued, tapping her tablet. Surgical diagrams flickered onto the screen. Hormonal regulation pathways. Neural mapping. Anatomical reconstructions. We can remove these impulses before they root themselves any deeper. I stared at the glowing blueprints. "You want to operate on me?" Her lips curved slightly, not warmth, not quite cruelty. Something worse.
Conviction.
"I want to save you." The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. "This isn't medicine," I whispered. "This is control." Her expression hardened. I raised you to be strong, masculine, disciplined. You will not dismantle that for some fantasy. It's not a fantasy. The words tore out of me before I could stop them. It's the only time I feel real. Her eyes flashed. You sound weak. That did it. I stepped back. I'm leaving. But before I could turn fully toward the stairs, her voice shifted.
Calm.
Precise. Lethal. If you walk away, Ethan, don't expect me to protect you. Protect me from what? The implication hung in the air. From society. From humiliation. From Mia. From her. I didn't answer. I walked out anyway. I drove for hours without direction. Traffic lights blurred. The city passed in fragments of glass and asphalt. Her words echoed over and over. I can fix you. I had never felt so small. When I finally returned to my apartment building, exhaustion weighed on me like concrete. Then I saw it. Mia's car.
Parked outside.
My stomach dropped. The lights inside my apartment were off when I unlocked the door. The air carried her scent, jasmine layered with something sharper, like citrus and tension. She was sitting on the couch. The pink lipstick rested in her hand. She didn't look angry. She looked hurt. We need to talk, she said quietly. I nodded and sat across from her, keeping distance like we were strangers negotiating terms. Her fingers tightened around the tube. Ethan, are you cheating on me? The question landed like a physical blow.
No. God, no.
It's not like that. Then what is it?
Her voice trembled now.
Why did I find this? Why were you wearing makeup? The room felt too small, too bright. I could lie. I'd done it before. But something about the morning, about my mother's diagrams and cold certainty, made lying feel like surrender. My throat tightened, because this wasn't about lipstick anymore. This was about the line between survival and truth. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want to survive by pretending. I sometimes dress differently, I said, the words barely louder than breath. Not for anyone else. For me. Mia's brows pulled together. You mean like a woman? I nodded. Silence settled between us like dust after something shatters. She studied my face, as if searching for the person she thought she knew. So, all this time, you've been hiding this part of yourself? I was scared, I admitted. Scared you'd leave. Scared everyone would think I'm broken. Her expression softened. Just for a heartbeat. Ethan, I don't even know what to say. I'm still me, I pleaded. You just want to be someone else, she finished quietly. The phrasing stung. Before I could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced down, and everything in her face changed. It's from your mom.
I slid down my spine.
What? She sent me an email. Mia turned the screen toward me. Subject line. For Mia, the truth about Ethan. Attached was a photo.
Me.
Evelyn. Perfectly framed. Lipstick flawless. Wig in place. Eyes softer than I ever allowed the world to see. My blood went cold. She sent that to you? I whispered. Mia nodded slowly. She says she's worried. That you need help. Tears burned behind my eyes. Not from shame, from betrayal. She's manipulating you. She's your mother. She's a monster, I snapped. The word echoed harder than I intended. Mia stood abruptly, torn between anger and confusion. I need space, she said, voice trembling. I don't know what's real right now. The door closed with a quiet click, and something inside me fractured. I wasn't just losing Mia. I was losing control of the narrative. And my mother was writing it for me. Rain started that night.
Steady.
Relentless. It drummed against the windows like a countdown. I hadn't eaten. I hadn't slept. I sat in the dark, replaying her words. I can fix you.
Fix me.
Like I was a design flaw. My phone buzzed again.
Mia.
I stared at it before answering. Hey, she said softly. Strained. Can we talk? Yeah, I breathed. Come over. 10 minutes later she stood in my doorway, rain clinging to her hair, eyes rimmed red like she'd been crying for hours. She stepped inside without looking at me. I don't know where to start, she said. Start with the truth. She flinched. Your mom came to my work. My chest tightened. What? She said you were unstable. That you've been lying to me. She showed me pictures. Mia's voice faltered. Makeup.
Wigs.
Ethan, she said you were spiraling. She had no right. I cut in, shaking. Those were private. She stole them. I just want to understand, Mia said, her voice cracking. Is that who you want to be? A woman? The question hovered in the air, heavy as thunder. I don't know, I whispered. Sometimes it just feels right, like I can breathe. When you're her? Yes. What's her name? The word caught in my throat. Evelyn. Mia inhaled sharply. You gave her a name. She's not a costume. And you never told me. I was scared. She wrapped her arms around herself, trembling slightly. You talk about honesty.
About trust.
But this feels like you were living another life. I wasn't cheating. I know, she whispered. That's what hurts. You didn't trust me with you. That word again.
You.
I reached for her hand. She pulled away. She said something else, Mia continued after a long pause. She wants you to come home. She says she can cure you. I let out a hollow laugh. Cure me? She sounded convinced. Some new hormone treatment. Identity correction therapy. That's not therapy, I said through clenched teeth. That's control dressed up as medicine. Then why does she sound so sure? Because she's obsessed. My voice shook. My whole life I've been her project. She picked my clothes, my hobbies, my major. I wasn't a son. I was a prototype. Mia's expression shifted from confusion to something closer to horror. I didn't know. It's worse than you think, I whispered. She doesn't want to guide me. She wants to erase me. Rain battered the windows harder. She said, Mia added carefully, if you don't meet her, she'll make sure everyone knows. My stomach dropped. She wouldn't. She would. I sank onto the couch, head in my hands. She's going to destroy me. Mia knelt in front of me. Then maybe you should talk to her. Before this explodes. There's no compromise with her, I said. She stops when she wins. And what does winning look like? I met her eyes. To dismantle Ethan and rebuild me into whatever she approves of. My voice dropped. Or worse, into something she can experiment on. Her face drained of color. What are you saying? I've seen her research. Surgical alteration. Hormone manipulation. Behavioral conditioning. She calls it gender realignment therapy. I swallowed. She's obsessed with reshaping identity. That's illegal. She doesn't care. The room felt smaller by the second. After a long silence, Mia spoke again. You need to leave.
The word hit me like a slap. What?
Disappear. Just for a while. Until she loses interest. I have friends upstate. You can stay there. No one will find you.
Run.
The idea terrified me. But staying felt like stepping into a trap. Okay, I whispered. Tomorrow. Relief flickered across her face. And then,
click. Soft.
Subtle.
From the hallway.
We both froze. Did you lock the door? She whispered. I thought you did. Another click. The faint, unmistakable sound of a door easing open. My pulse slammed against my ribs. Mia, I breathed. I reached into my desk drawer and grabbed the nearest thing my hand found. A wrench. Cold metal. Solid.
Real.
The hallway light flickered on. Footsteps.
Slow.
Deliberate. And suddenly it wasn't just about secrets anymore. It was about survival. The apartment felt hollow that night, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Only the refrigerator hummed, steady and indifferent, while rain streaked down the windows in thin, trembling lines. Then I heard it, from the dark hallway. Her voice. Calm down, Ethan, my mother said softly.
Too softly.
You really thought you could hide from me? Mia's fingers tightened around my arm. How did she? My blood turned cold as my mother stepped into the light. White coat. Perfect posture. Rain shimmering in her hair like glass beads. She looked less like a parent and more like a surgeon about to begin a procedure. You left your car's GPS active, she said smoothly. Did you honestly think I wouldn't check? Her eyes moved to Mia, clinical, assessing. You shouldn't have involved yourself, dear. Get out, I shouted, but my voice fractured halfway through. She smiled. Not angry. Not emotional.
Certain.
This is for your own good. Her hand slipped into her coat pocket. The syringe glinted beneath the ceiling light. Mia screamed. I lunged. The syringe clattered to the floor. Chaos exploded. Furniture scraping, breathless shouting, Mia pulling at my mother's arm. For a moment I thought we might win. Then, a sharp sting in my neck. My body went heavy. The ceiling tilted sideways. Through the blur, I saw her face hovering above me, serene and almost proud. It's time, she whispered. You'll thank me. Darkness swallowed everything. Morning arrived like nothing had happened. The world looked normal. Too normal. She didn't mention the syringe. Didn't mention the threat. Instead, her words from the night before echoed in my head. If you refuse to act like the son I raised, perhaps it's time you become the daughter I never had. I prayed she hadn't meant it literally.
Then I saw the envelope. White. Sealed.
Waiting on the kitchen counter. My name written in her flawless cursive. Inside was a single sheet bearing a hospital logo. My eyes locked onto the first line. Scheduled consultation Dr. Nadia H. Gender Reassignment Unit St. Helena Medical. My hands began to shake so violently the paper rattled. This wasn't anger. This wasn't a threat. This was a plan. Mom. My voice cracked as I turned toward the hallway mirror. She stood there in reflection, composed as ever, sipping tea. What is this? I asked. Some kind of sick joke? Her expression didn't shift. No joke. You've hidden long enough. I'm not hiding. She raised her hand, silencing me. I've seen the accounts. The photos. The way you look at yourself in those clothes. Her voice lowered. Don't insult me by pretending this isn't who you are. The air between us turned heavy. She wasn't confronting me. She was delivering a verdict. That night, sleep refused to come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw hospital lights, cold and unforgiving. I imagined waking up as someone I didn't recognize. Someone chosen for me. Desperate, I opened my laptop. Every message to Mia. Every photo. Every secret. Evidence. Leverage. She had trapped me perfectly. The next afternoon, I found her in the garden trimming roses. Sunlight glinted off the shears like small blades of judgment. I can't do this, I said. You're not fixing me. You're erasing me. She paused mid-cut. You erased yourself, she replied quietly. You just don't realize it. There was no cruelty in her tone. That was the worst part. You live halfway, she continued.
Half honest.
Half ashamed. I'm ending that for you. Ending. The word echoed like a closing door. The following morning she was gone. But her keys were still on the table. And a note. Your appointment is tomorrow. Be ready. Panic consumed me. I considered running. Calling the police. Leaving the city. But every option meant exposure. Public shame. Scandal. She'd constructed this like surgery. Precise and unavoidable. By afternoon, fear shifted into numbness. I opened my closet. Inside hung dresses I didn't buy. Fabric and lace replacing the space where my identity used to live. My fingers trembled as I touched one.
Soft.
Familiar. For a fleeting second, that old secret rush stirred inside me, the confusing mixture of fear and thrill. But now it felt corrupted. Weaponized. The mirror reflected someone I barely recognized. Is this who you think I am? I whispered. Or just who you want me to be? The front door opened. My heart stopped. Mom. But it wasn't her. It was Mia. She froze in the doorway, a paper bag slipping slightly in her grip as her eyes took everything in.
The dress.
The trembling. The faint smudges of makeup I hadn't realized were still there. Daniel, she breathed. The one person I'd tried hardest to hide from. Standing there. Seeing everything. I can explain, I said. But the truth was I couldn't. because it looked exactly like what it was. Her eyes shifted to the envelope on the counter. Before I could move, she reached for it and began to read. Mia's expression shifted as she finished reading. Shock melted into fear. "She's actually going to make you do this?" she whispered. I nodded. My throat burned. "I don't have a choice." She stepped closer, her hands warm against my cold skin, cupping my face like I might shatter. "This isn't love, Daniel," she said, her voice trembling. "This is control. She's trying to rewrite you." I wanted to cling to her certainty. But somewhere deep inside, in a place I hated to acknowledge, a dangerous thought flickered. What if Mom had seen something I'd refused to face? The part of me that always felt split in two. The part that felt unfinished. That night, Mia didn't leave. We sat on the floor with our backs against the couch, whispering like conspirators. I told her everything, every hidden account, every late-night photo, every moment standing in front of a mirror not knowing whether I felt fear or relief. She didn't flinch. She didn't judge. She just held me. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a secret. Dawn arrived pale and fragile. Headlights cut across the living room wall. A car engine idled in the driveway. Mom was home. The front door opened quietly. She stepped inside, composed as ever. Her eyes landed on Mia's arm around my shoulders. And she smiled. "I see progress," she said gently. That smile chilled me more than any scream could have. She hadn't come back to argue. She'd come to conclude. She set her purse down with deliberate calm. "Good. You're both awake," she said. "I was hoping we could talk before tomorrow." Mia rose to her feet. "This isn't a talk. You're coercing him." Mom didn't blink. "I'm helping him." "You're forcing him." "I'm giving him what he's always wanted," Mom replied evenly. "What he's been too afraid to admit." Her words settled over the room like invisible smoke. I felt suspended between them, Mia's fierce defiance on one side, Mom's unwavering certainty on the other. Mom gestured toward the kitchen table. A small cosmetic bag, a prescription bottle, an envelope labeled consent forms. "I've handled the paperwork," she said lightly. "The hospital expects you at 10. My lungs tightened. "You signed something?" I asked. "I had to," she replied, as though explaining a practical inconvenience. "You're not thinking clearly. Someone has to." "That's insane," Mia snapped. "You can't make that decision for him." Mom's gaze sharpened. "He's my son." "Then act like a mother," Mia shot back. "Not a warden." For a heartbeat, I thought Mom would lose her composure. Instead, she turned to me. Her voice softened. "I love you enough to save you," she said. "You've been drowning in shame your whole life. I'm giving you air." The silence that followed was suffocating. I wanted to scream that she was wrong. But the worst part? I wasn't entirely sure she was. That night, Mia made a decision for me. "We're leaving," she whispered. "You don't have to stay here." We packed quickly. Just essentials. My hands shook as I zipped the bag closed. Then I noticed it. The house felt sealed. Too quiet. I walked to the front door. The handle didn't budge. Bolted. From the outside. "Mia," I breathed. We ran to the back door. Locked. Every window latched tight. "She locked us in," Mia whispered, disbelief cracking her voice. My pulse roared in my ears. I pounded on the wood. "Mom, open this." Her voice drifted down from upstairs. Calm. Controlled. "You're panicking," she called. "That's natural. You can't trap me here." "You're not trapped," she replied softly. "You're protected." I felt like prey in a carefully constructed cage. "You'll thank me one day, sweetheart," she added. The words echoed through the house like a promise. Or a sentence. Sweetheart. The words splintered inside me. It didn't feel like she was speaking to me. It felt like she was speaking to the version of me she'd already constructed in her mind. Mia gripped my shoulders. "Listen to me," she whispered urgently. "We're getting out. There's always a way." There had to be. I bolted upstairs, checking windows, testing locks, rattling frames. Every exit sealed. Every path controlled. Then, in my childhood bedroom, I noticed it, the small window above the bed. Slightly misaligned. Barely noticeable. Hope. We pushed it open carefully. The old frame creaked in protest. Downstairs, Mom hummed to herself. Like this was a normal morning. Like we weren't prisoners. Go, Mia urged. You first. My pulse hammered so violently it hurt. What if she hears? Then we run faster. I climbed onto the bed and shoved the window wider. Cold air rushed against my face. Freedom. My torso was halfway through when the bedroom door slammed open. Mom stood there. In her hand, the prescription bottle. Her eyes darkened as she took in the scene. So this is your solution? She asked softly. Running from yourself again? Mom, please. She stepped closer, voice lowering into that terrifying calm. Do you even know what's in this bottle?
No.
Hormone stabilizers, she said. To help your body align. Align to what? I shouted. To who you decided I am? Mia grabbed my hand. We're leaving.
Now.
Mom moved with startling speed, seizing Mia's arm. You think you can rescue him? She hissed. You don't know what he's been hiding. Mia tore free, eyes blazing. I know everything, she said. And I love him anyway. The room fell silent. For the first time, Mom faltered. You love him, she repeated. Yes, Mia said fiercely. Not your version. Him. Mom's grip loosened. The bottle trembled in her hand. Then it slipped. White pills scattered across the hardwood floor, rolling in every direction. I don't understand, she whispered. How can you love something broken? Because it isn't broken, Mia replied quietly. It's human. For a second, a fragile, impossible second, I thought that might reach her. Her expression softened, then hardened again. You'll see, she said coldly. Soon enough. She left the room. The lock clicked. We sat there for a long time, breathing in uneven bursts. One pill rolled against my foot. Small, harmless looking, but it felt like a dividing line between who I was and who she believed I should become. And I didn't know which side I would wake up on. Morning arrived like judgment. The house felt electrically still. I sat on the edge of my bed in jeans and a hoodie, bag packed at my feet. Each tick of the clock dragged me closer to something I had never chosen. Downstairs, Mom's voice carried through the hallway. Yes, Dr. Nadia. We'll be there at 10. Of course. The forms are signed. Her tone was efficient, pleasant, as if scheduling a dental cleaning. Mia paced beside me. We can still run. My car's parked down the block. If we leave now. Footsteps. Sharp heels ascending the stairs. Daniel. Mom called gently. It's time. My throat closed. I can't do this, I whispered. She'll just find me. Mia grabbed my hands. Then we don't run. We fight. You tell the doctor the truth. They can't do anything without your consent. She was right. Legally, she was right. But Mom had a way of bending reality until it looked reasonable. Still, something inside me flickered. A small voice. Defiant. I'll go, I said. But I speak for myself. Mom waited in the living room, keys in hand. She smiled. Good boy. The words scorched. The drive passed in silence. Trees blurred outside the window. Every mile felt like it was sanding pieces off me. Mia sat behind us, her gaze steady in the rearview mirror, promising she wasn't surrendering. The hospital came into view.
White.
Sterile. Unforgiving. St. Helena Medical Center. Mom reached for my hand after parking. You'll thank me, she murmured. You'll finally stop fighting yourself. I looked at her, really looked. Perfect posture. Controlled smile. Absolute certainty. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She genuinely believed she was saving me. That realization hurt more than anything else. Inside, everything smelled like antiseptic and inevitability. Welcome, Mrs. Hale, the receptionist said brightly. Dr. Nadia is ready. My body moved on autopilot down the hallway. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Machines beeped somewhere distant. Dr. Nadia greeted us in a small office. Daniel, she said kindly, I imagine today feels overwhelming. I began. He's ready. Mom cut in smoothly. He's struggled long enough. Dr. Nadia's eyes flickered between us. Perhaps I should speak with Daniel alone. Mom hesitated, then stepped outside. The door clicked shut. Dr. Nadia turned to me. Your mother says you've been experiencing gender distress. I shook my head hard enough to make my vision blur.
No.
I never asked for this. She's forcing me. Her expression sharpened, not judgmental, but attentive. You're saying this is not your choice?
Yes.
Please. She nodded slowly. You're an adult. No one can authorize treatment without your consent. Relief hit me so fast my knees nearly gave out. For the first time in weeks, there was oxygen in my lungs. A real exit. Then the door opened. Mom stepped back inside, her smile tight and expectant. Everything all right? Dr. Nadia folded her hands. Mrs. Hale, your son has expressed significant hesitation. I recommend postponing today's procedure. Mom's smile fractured. That's unnecessary, she said flatly.
He's confused.
He panics when confronted. With respect, Dr. Nadia replied evenly. This decision belongs to him. For a moment, silence stretched like glass about to shatter. I thought it was over. I thought I was free. Then Mom turned to me. Her eyes glistened, not just with anger, with something deeper. Fury,
Fear.
and heartbreak tangled together. And I realized this wasn't the end of the battle. It was the beginning of a different one. After everything I've done for you, she whispered, her voice splintering, you're still choosing the lie. It's not a lie, I said, though my hands were shaking. It's me. She moved closer, as if proximity alone could correct me. You don't understand what you're throwing away, she said. I've seen you. The way you looked when you dressed up. That stillness in your eyes. That peace. Her breath trembled. You belonged there. You were beautiful. Beautiful. The word didn't sound angry. It sounded claimed, like she had discovered something and decided it was hers to cultivate. The air in the room shifted. Dr. Nadia stepped in gently but firmly. Mrs. Hale, I need you to wait outside. For a long moment, Mom didn't move. Her gaze stayed locked on me, not furious, not broken, certain. Then she turned and walked out. The door shut with a soft click. I exhaled like I'd been underwater. Seconds later, Mia rushed in and wrapped herself around me. It's over, she whispered into my shoulder. You did it. I held her, but my eyes drifted to the narrow window in the office door. Mom stood in the hallway, watching. Her expression had changed. The desperation was gone. What replaced it was colder, measured, strategic. And in that instant, I knew this wasn't defeat. It was recalculation. The drive home felt like moving through someone else's memory. Rain traced thin lines across the windows, blurring the world into gray smears. The city looked unfamiliar, like it had quietly shifted while I wasn't looking. Mia squeezed my hand. She can't touch you now. I didn't answer, because power doesn't disappear. It adapts. The house was empty when we returned. Her car was gone. Half her closet cleared out. No note. No goodbye. Just absence, surgical and deliberate. Mia guided me to the couch. You need rest. But rest felt impossible. The image of her in that hospital hallway replayed in my mind. Not angry. Not hysterical. Convicted. The way she said beautiful. Not as a compliment. As a verdict. That night, sleep was a battlefield. Every creak sounded like footsteps. Every shadow felt intentional. I dreamed of fluorescent lights. Of a mask lowering toward my face. Of her voice, soft and reassuring. It's okay, sweetheart. You'll thank me. I jolted awake. 3:17 a.m. The red glow of the clock burned into the dark. Mia stirred beside me. Another nightmare? I still hear her. I whispered. She's gone, Mia murmured. Let her be gone. But as my eyes adjusted to the dim light, something in the hallway made my breath catch. A shape on the floor.
Small. White.
Exactly where the moonlight touched. It hadn't been there before. I slid out of bed slowly, my pulse loud in my ears. An envelope. My name written in her precise handwriting. My beautiful child. My fingers trembled as I unfolded the note inside. You've mistaken fear for freedom. When you finally see yourself clearly, you'll understand why I did this.
Until then, I'll wait.
Love, Mom. The words were gentle, affectionate. That's what made them terrifying. No rage, no blame, just patience. Mia read over my shoulder, her breath unsteady. And for the first time since the hospital, I understood something chilling. She hadn't lost. She had stepped back. And somewhere out there, she was waiting. She came here. That realization hollowed me out. She still has a key, I said, my stomach twisting. We searched every room, closets, under beds, behind shower curtains. Nothing. No forced windows. No footprints. Just the note. And the faint scent of her perfume. Roses. Antiseptic. Clean and suffocating. By morning, I was running on caffeine and nerves. We should stay at my place, Mia said gently. New locks. New air. I didn't argue. Anything felt better than those walls. Her apartment was everything ours wasn't. Sunlight pouring through wide windows, warm wood floors, the smell of coffee and cinnamon drifting from the kitchen. For the first time in weeks, my lungs expanded fully. See? She said with a hopeful smile. Fresh start. I wanted to believe her. I really did. That afternoon, I went downstairs to grab the mail. My hand froze inside the box. An envelope. My name. No return address. Inside was a glossy photograph.
Me.
Standing in front of Mia's building that very morning. Taken from across the street. On the back, written in delicate cursive. You look more like yourself every day. The world tilted. The photo slipped from my fingers. It had been taken hours ago. She knew where I was. Mia's face drained of color when she saw it. She's watching us. We called the police. No direct threat, the officer said with a shrug. Could be a prank. A prank. The word felt insulting. That night, I stood in Mia's bathroom staring at my reflection. I barely recognized the person looking back. Pale, sleepless, eyes ringed in shadow. I tilted my head, and for a flicker of a second, I saw it. Not the boy my mother insisted I was. Not the version she tried to sculpt. But something softer. Something that felt both wrong and strangely familiar. It terrified me. This is just her voice, I whispered. She's in my head. I splashed cold water on my face. When I looked up again, I could have sworn my reflection smiled. I stumbled backward, heart racing. Mia was asleep on the couch. I paced, trying to steady myself. The shadows along the walls stretched unnaturally long.
Then I saw it.
A faint red dot on the window. Blinking. A camera. I yanked the curtain aside. Nothing. Just city lights. When I turned back, the TV flickered on.
Static.
Then a silhouette. Backlit. Feminine. Familiar. Don't be afraid, Daniel, the voice whispered. You're almost there. The screen snapped to black. Mia. I shook her awake. She's here. She blinked, disoriented.
What?
Daniel. The TV, she was. The screen was dark.
Silent.
Mia looked at me differently now. Not afraid. Concerned. You haven't slept, she said softly. You're exhausted. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe I wasn't unraveling. Then I saw it. On the coffee table. A small velvet box. It hadn't been there before. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, a silver locket. My mother's. I flipped it open. 2 photos. One of me as a child. The other.
Me.
In that soft dress. The one from the mirror. My breath caught. How did she get that? I whispered. She's not gone, Mia said, her voice tight. My world felt unstable, like the floor was quietly shifting beneath me. Then we end this, Mia said firmly. Tomorrow we find her. But a thought coiled inside my chest. What if finding her meant confronting something deeper? What if she wasn't trying to erase me? What if she believed she was revealing me? Morning came heavy and gray. I woke on Mia's couch, the locket still clenched in my hand. Crescent-shaped marks dented my palm. Mia was already awake, laptop open, blue light illuminating her face. "I think I found her," she said quietly. My pulse spiked. "What do you mean?" She turned the screen toward me. A security feed from a roadside motel on the edge of the city. Grainy footage. Time-stamped late last night. And there she was, walking into the lobby.
Calm. Composed.
Waiting. "I traced the calls from the photo delivery service," Mia said. She used a prepaid number, but it pinged near this place. On the screen, my mother paused before entering her room. For just a second, she looked directly at the camera and smiled. "Remember that private number that kept showing up on your phone?" Mia whispered, her eyes glued to the laptop screen. "It pinged near here at 2:14 a.m. She zoomed in on the grainy footage. A woman in a long coat slipped into room 12, hair tied back, face mostly hidden. But the walk, the way she carried herself. I would recognize it anywhere. "Mom." I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting.
She's alive.
Watching us. Following us. Mia's jaw tightened. Tonight, we end it. We drove after sunset, the city's glow fading behind us like a dream dissolving. The road narrowed, shadows creeping across the asphalt. Even the radio sounded too loud, too intrusive. The motel appeared suddenly, a crooked neon sign buzzing weakly. Half the letters burn out. Dream Haven it read, or tried to. Room 12 was at the far end. Blinds pulled tight. We parked behind a dumpster. Engine off. The air smelled of rain and oil. "Are you sure about this?" Mia asked, hand trembling. I shook my head.
No.
"But I need to know why she's doing this." We crept forward. Light spilled faintly from under the door. A low hum drifted out, an old movie she used to watch when she couldn't sleep. I knocked once.
Twice.
A voice, muffled but unmistakable. "Daniel." "My door is open. Come in." My chest tightened. The lock clicked. The door swung open. She stood there in a pale robe, hair damp, eyes shining as if she'd been crying for hours. "You came," she said, calm. Too calm. I stepped inside. The room smelled like lavender and antiseptic, just like her old clinic. On the bed, open folders, photographs, syringes, vials of clear liquid. "What is all this?" I demanded. Her smile was faint, serene. "Records. Proof." "Proof of what?" Mia asked sharply, stepping beside me. Mom's gaze flicked to her, sharp for a moment, then softened, returning to me. "Write about who you are, Daniel," she said. "About who you've always been." I shook my head.
No. You drugged me.
Lied to me. You think I don't see the pain in your eyes?" she interrupted. "You never felt whole. Never looked at yourself and saw you. I did what any mother would do. I gave you the chance to be free." "Free?" I hissed. "By trapping me?" She tilted her head. "Would you have listened any other way?" Her calmness was worse than shouting. It was predatory. I turned toward the desk. Dozens of photographs. Me at birthdays, awkward smiles, soccer games. Then newer ones. Me after the experiments. Eyes glazed. Features softened, unrecognizable. And then a file marked patient D1-17. My stomach dropped. I opened it. Full case history. Medical procedures. Hormonal treatments documented months before the first accidental injection. "You planned this," I whispered, voice shaking. Her smile didn't waver. "Of course. You were meant to be perfect." "You're insane," I shouted, backing away. She sighed, stepping closer. "No, Daniel. You're confused. Look at you. Your face. Your body. Your voice. The world sees a woman now, because that's who you were meant to be." "Stop it," I yelled. "You don't get to decide that for me." Her hand reached out, brushing my cheek. "You think you're angry, but you're scared. Scared of being seen." I flinched. "You don't know me," she smiled, heartbreakingly tender. "I know you better than anyone. Mia stepped forward, voice cold. You don't know him. You broke him. Mom's eyes flicked toward her, sharp, assessing. And you kept him weak. You made him cling to a lie. Enough. I slammed my hand on the desk. You're treating me like a project. I'm not your experiment. Not your responsibility. I'm just. The word died in my throat. It felt too small for everything churning inside me. Mom's expression softened. Then tell me, Daniel. Who are you? The question hit like a hammer. My throat tightened. I shook my head. I don't know. Silence. Heavy, suffocating. Then she reached for a syringe from the table. The same clear liquid. Let me help you remember, she whispered. Don't. Mia shouted, stepping in front of me. Mom's eyes were pleading now. One final dose. You'll see clearly this time. You'll understand. I stared at the trembling needle. The same one that had stolen weeks of my life. My reflection caught in its glass, distorted, fragile, uncertain. I didn't move. And for the first time in a long time, I realized nothing would ever feel safe again until I faced this, her, me, and what she believed I was meant to become. I whispered it, barely audible.
No.
She froze. I'm done being your project, I said, voice low but steady. I don't need your idea of freedom. I'll find my own. Tears welled in her eyes. You'll hate yourself, she said, voice trembling. Then I'll do it on my terms, I replied quietly, gripping Mia's hand. We're leaving. As we moved toward the door, her voice drifted after us, soft, almost prayer-like. You can leave, but you cannot unsee the truth. Every mirror will remind you. Every touch will feel wrong until you become who you were meant to be. The door slammed behind us. Outside, the wind whipped against the car, carrying her words like a curse. We drove in silence, the road a blur, headlights slicing through shadows. My hands shook, adrenaline pulsing in my veins. She's gone too far, Mia finally whispered. We need to tell someone. The police. A lawyer. Anyone. I nodded slowly. Yeah, but even as I said it, her words echoed in my head. Every mirror will remind you. That night, when I finally looked into one, I couldn't look away. The face staring back was softer, uncertain, almost foreign. Not the boy I had always known. Not quite me. And for the first time, I didn't know if that terrified me or set me free. We didn't return home. Mia drove through quiet streets, empty and half-lit, until dawn. My head rested against the window, eyes half closed, and her whispers still clawed at my mind. You can't unsee the truth. Sunrise found us at a cheap, anonymous motel just outside the city. Mia checked us in under a fake name. I barely spoke. I sat at the edge of the bed, staring at my reflection in the dusty mirror. Morning light made my face look unfamiliar. The faint softness around my cheeks, the subtle curve of my jawline. It was alien. Mia knelt beside me, her voice gentle. You did the right thing, Daniel. You walked away. I nodded weakly. Then why doesn't it feel like it? She didn't answer. We tried to rest, but sleep wouldn't come. By afternoon, the weight of silence became unbearable. I opened Mia's hastily packed bag and froze. Inside, wrapped in a silk scarf, was the syringe my mother had held the night before. Mia, what is this? Her eyes narrowed. I thought we might need it for evidence. Evidence? I stared at the clear liquid, glimmering faintly in the sunlight. Evidence or temptation? What if she's right? I whispered, hands trembling. What if this confusion, the discomfort, the feeling that something inside me doesn't fit, what if it's not manipulation? What if it's truth? I shook my head violently and set the syringe down. No, I muttered. She's not getting inside my head again. Mia crossed her arms, voice firm. You can't let her control your mind, Daniel. That's what she wants, to make you doubt yourself. I whispered back, barely audible. But what if I already do? She reached out and touched my hand. We stayed like that for a long time, silent, tethered by fear and defiance. That evening, there was a knock at the door. My heart jumped. Mia grabbed my arm, signaling me to stay quiet. Housekeeping, a voice called. Through the peephole, Mia froze. A woman in a motel uniform stood there, but her eyes sharp, assessing. "Good evening," she said, faint smile. "I believe you left something behind at the Dream Haven." My pulse spiked. "Who sent you?" She didn't answer. She slid an envelope onto the floor and walked away. I stared at it, dread coiling in my stomach. Mia picked it up and tore it open. Inside, a single photograph. Me as a child, sitting on the floor of my mother's clinic, clutching a doll. She was in the background, smiling proudly. On the back, neat familiar handwriting. "You were never broken, Daniel. You were just unfinished." My blood ran cold. Mia's hand found mine, squeezing tight. "We have to go. Now." We packed in a frenzy, hearts hammering. But as Mia opened the door to leave, I heard it, the faint hum of static. The motel TV, off, flickered. Then a voice, unmistakable. "You can run, but you'll always find me in the mirror." The screen went dark. I stumbled backward, heart racing. She's everywhere," I whispered. Mia gripped my shoulders. "No, Daniel. It's all in your head. She's manipulating you." I wanted to believe her. I tried. But when I glanced at the mirror for a fraction of a second, I didn't see me. I saw her, my mother, smiling, younger, reflected in the glass, and the reflection smiled back even after I looked away. We left the motel and went straight to the authorities. We filed a report, the photo, the syringe, everything. But when they checked room 12, it was gone. Empty. Clean. No trace anyone had stayed there. The motel clerk swore no woman matching her description had checked in for months. It made no sense. In the following days, things only worsened. Block numbers. Static. Heavy breathing. One morning, I awoke to find lipstick smeared across the bathroom mirror. Beauty is truth. Chills ran down my spine. Mia insisted it was a prank, a break-in. But I knew, somewhere deep down, I felt it changing me. Not just outside, but inside. My body, my face, my voice, they were shifting in ways I couldn't explain. "No," I whispered. "It's stress. Just stress." The mirror said otherwise. Every morning, I looked less like Daniel, more like the person she had insisted I could be. That night, Mia found me huddled on the bathroom floor, trembling. "I can't stop it," I whispered. She knelt beside me, hands on my face. "You're stronger than this. She doesn't own you." Tears blurred my vision. Then, why do I see her when I look at me? She didn't answer. She pulled me close, held me. For the first time, I let myself cry. Not from fear. From realization. A small, hidden part of me was beginning to understand. The softness, the reflection, the strange comfort in the change. Was it trauma? Or truth? I didn't know. But I did know one thing. I couldn't run forever. To be free, truly free, I would have to face her one last time. Days passed. The city grew louder, brighter, crueler. Her voice lingered in my mind, patient, persuasive, subtle. Mia went back to work. I wandered the apartment like a ghost. Then the envelope arrived. No name. No stamp. Just left at the door. Inside, a note in her unmistakable handwriting. "If you want the truth, come home. Alone." Beneath it, a key. My hand trembled as I held it. I knew it was a trap. But I also knew I couldn't move on without answers. When Mia returned that night, I didn't tell her. I couldn't. I had to face this alone. I waited until she slept, every breath shallow, every heartbeat pounding in my ears. When the house finally fell silent, I slipped out, careful not to disturb the shadows. The drive to my mother's house felt unreal, like wandering through a memory I'd hoped to forget. The gates groaned as I pushed them open, rusted hinges, singing a metallic lament. The house loomed dark and still, ivy clawing at the walls, windows empty and black. Yet the porch light burned steadily. She was waiting. "Daniel." Her voice floated from the hallway, soft, almost velvet against my nerves. You came back. A shiver ran down my spine. She stepped forward, hair fraying at the edges, eyes calm but eerily alive. I knew you would. You always return to where you belong. I didn't come for you, I said, voice shaking. I came for the truth. Her lips curved in that same unsettling, serene smile. Then let's begin. She led me down the hall to her old clinic. The floor bore faint outlines where machines had once hummed. On the counter sat only a mirror and a small silver locket.
Sit, she said gently.
I hesitated. You're afraid to look, she said, nodding toward the mirror. You think that if you ignore yourself long enough, the reflection will disappear. You'll wake up as someone else. I clenched my fists. Stop talking like you know me. I made you, she said simply. Her calmness was worse than cruelty. She opened the locket. Inside were 2 photographs, me as a baby and a little girl who looked uncannily like me. That was you, she whispered, before the world decided you should be someone else. I shook my head. That's not me. You don't remember, she said, soft, almost regretful. I was told to choose one path, one identity. I couldn't. I chose both. And I kept the truth from you until you could handle it. You're lying. I wish I were, she admitted, voice trembling now. You were supposed to be my daughter. Silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Even if that were true, I whispered, you had no right. Maybe not, she said softly. But tell me, Daniel, when you look at yourself now, are you angry? Or terrified that I might have been right? I turned away, but she stepped closer. Her reflection merged with mine in the mirror, her face beside my own. You see it, don't you? She whispered. You feel it. You've always felt it. Stop, I said. You don't have to fight it anymore. You don't understand, I spat, turning to face her. You took away my choice. You made me doubt everything, my mind, my body, my life. You broke me and called it healing. Because I love you, she said. The words struck like lightning. I couldn't watch you destroy yourself, she continued, stepping closer. You were fading, Daniel. Every year, drifting further from the person you were meant to be. I wanted to save you. I shouted. By rewriting me? By freeing you, she whispered. Every injection, every change, I cried after each one. But I saw it, you stopped flinching at your reflection. You smiled again. You just wouldn't admit it. Her confession nearly broke me, but then I saw it. The small scar near her wrist, the faint outline of a syringe mark. What's that? Proof, she said quietly. I gave you a part of myself. My stomach sank. You didn't just make me like you, I demanded. I made you me, she said, voice distant, ghostly. The room tilted. No, I whispered. She pressed her hand to the mirror. Look closely. Tell me where I end and you begin. I froze. Her reflection moved even when I didn't. My chest tightened. This isn't real, I muttered. Identity isn't a choice, Daniel, she said, voice trembling. It's inheritance. You're sick, I said. Maybe, she admitted, stepping closer. But I gave you everything I am. Even if you hate me, you can erase me. Her hand brushed my cheek. For a terrifying second, her reflection flickered, merging with mine. I shoved her away. No more lies. I'm not your experiment. I'm not your reflection. I'm me. Then prove it, she whispered. I turned toward the mirror, heart hammering, our faces overlapping in the glass. I raised my hand. My reflection hesitated, then followed. And for the first time, I saw us both clearly, not one replacing the other, but 2 halves struggling to exist. I don't need to erase you, I whispered. But I won't become you either. She smiled, heartbreakingly gentle. Then maybe you've finally learned. Her knees buckled, and she collapsed, sobbing softly. I stood, trembling, the mirror under my fingers shaking, and for the first time, felt something besides fear. Something like peace. The night stretched quietly, broken only by the rain hammering against the windows. The apartment smelled faintly of lavender and hairspray, unfamiliar yet comforting. My reflection stared back, not a disguise, not an experiment, but alive. Everything had spiraled since that first pill. Every day I told myself I could stop, that I could undo this. But the changes were permanent.
I wasn't just adapting.
I was becoming. A knock shattered the silence. Lena, the woman who had started it all, stepped in, rain dripping from her coat, eyes shining as though she knew some secret I didn't. Still awake? She asked softly, stepping closer. Her coat fell open, revealing an elegant black dress. You shouldn't fight it anymore, she murmured. Fight what? I whispered. The woman you've become, she said. The self you've been waiting to breathe. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I looked at my reflection again. You did this to me, I whispered. You made me into something I never asked to be. No, she said softly. I revealed what was already there. You could have stopped at any time. You didn't. I couldn't. The months of denial, confusion, and shame crashed down. I gripped her wrist, trembling. Why me? Why this experiment? You were lost, she said gently. You hated yourself. You were running from who you were. I just redirected your path. The rain beat harder against the windows, echoing like 1,000 voices urging me forward. I faced the mirror again. The girl staring back was fragile, yes, but alive. She stepped behind me, chin on my shoulder. Say it, she whispered. I shook my head.
Say who you are, she pressed.
My voice broke, raw and shaky.
I'm.
Her arms tightened around me. You're Maya, she whispered. The name slipped from my lips, and for the first time, it felt like home. I looked at the reflection, soft cheeks, delicate neck, vulnerability and strength intertwined, and whispered again. I'm Maya. No guilt. No fear. Only relief. Lena's lips brushed my ear. The pill didn't make you someone else. It gave you permission to become yourself. Tears streamed down. When I opened my eyes, the woman in the mirror smiled back. Real this time. You're beautiful, Maya, Lena said. You always have been. And in that moment, the fight was over. The fear dissolved. I kissed her, not in confusion, but in clarity. For the first time, I wasn't pretending. The storm outside softened, the world steadying. Sunlight streamed in, golden and forgiving. A note on the nightstand read, You don't need me anymore. The rest of the story is yours. For the first time, solitude felt like peace. I stood before the mirror, alive in my own skin. The past wasn't erased, but I was free. No, you look real, he said softly. Happier somehow. I braced myself for shock, maybe disgust, but there was something gentler in his gaze. Curiosity. Maybe even admiration. We sat together. The conversation, awkward at first. Nervous laughter, long pauses, questions dangling in the air. How it happened. What I felt. If I was okay. I thought I'd lost everything, I admitted quietly. But now I think I've found what was missing all along. Kara reached across, squeezing my hand. You're brave, Maya. I don't know if I could have gone through that. Her words warmed me. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a mistake. I felt like a story worth telling. That night, I called my mother. I hadn't spoken to her since the transformation began, too afraid of what she'd say. The phone rang twice before she picked up. Hello, Mom. It's me, I whispered. A pause. You sound different. Are you okay? I swallowed. I need to tell you something. I've changed physically, emotionally, everything. Changed how? I took a breath. I'm not who I was. I'm your daughter now. Silence. Finally, her voice, hesitant and soft. I always knew something in you was waiting to come out. I just didn't know it would happen like this. Tears blurred my vision. You're not angry? She sighed. Angry?
No. Confused?
A little. But if this is who you are, I'll find a way to understand. I just want you to be safe, Maya. Her voice, my name. On her lips broke something open inside me. I pressed a trembling hand to my mouth. Thank you, Mom. I cried that night. Not for fear, not for loss, but a cleansing, liberating cry. A week later, Lena appeared again, standing by the river, her silhouette bathed in sunset. "You left," I said. She smiled faintly. "You didn't need me anymore." I folded my arms. "I think part of me still does." She shook her head gently.
No.
"You've already stepped into your truth. You just don't realize how far you've come." "Why me?" I asked softly. "There had to be others you could have chosen." She gazed at the water. "Because you had potential, not to be someone new, but to be seen. I only gave you the push." "Was it all an experiment?" I whispered. Her lips curved. "It started that way. But somewhere along the line, I cared. Maybe too much." Her words confirmed what I'd always suspected but never admitted. She stepped closer, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "You don't owe me gratitude, Maya. Just promise me one thing. Don't hide again, not from yourself, not from the world." "I won't," I said, steady for the first time. Months passed. My old life faded like a dream. I found work again, this time as a fashion consultant, helping others discover confidence through transformation. Each smile I saw in a mirror reminded me of my own journey, how it had begun with a single pill and ended with self-discovery. One afternoon, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a small glass vial, identical to Lena's, and a note for someone else who needs it. "You'll know when."
L.
I held it, feeling the weight of choice, power, truth. But this time, I didn't fear it. A year later, a young man named Aaron walked into my studio. Nervous, uncertain. "I don't know why I'm here," he confessed. "My girlfriend said you help people," he added. I smiled gently. "I help people become who they're meant to be." He hesitated. "I feel wrong, like I'm pretending all the time." I placed the vial on the table between us. His eyes widened. "What is that?" "A choice," I said softly. "I took it once. It changed everything." His gaze lingered on the vial, then on me.
Fear. Curiosity.
Longing. The same confusion I once carried, reflected in his eyes. When he left, I stood by the window, watching the sunset paint the sky in flames, the same color as the day I took the first pill. And finally, I understood Lena's truth. Transformation wasn't about becoming someone else. It was about becoming real. That night, I walked through the city streets in a flowing red dress, heels clicking against the pavement. Eyes turned, whispers followed, but I didn't care. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't pretending. I was Maya, finally, truly free. I used to think life ended the moment I lost control, when my mother forced me into change, when my body stopped being mine. But the truth, that's when I was born. Stripped of masks, lies, and expectations, what's left is raw, terrifying honesty. And once you taste it, there's no going back. Every day I look in the mirror now. I see her, the woman I once feared. She isn't my enemy. She's me, finally visible. Anger once consumed me. Anger at my mother, at the world, at myself. But maybe she didn't steal my choice. Maybe she made me face it. Because some transformations don't happen because we want them. They happen because the universe refuses to let us keep pretending. I see people every day, wearing masks, hiding behind words, pretending to be safe. Sometimes I want to tell them, you don't have to be who they told you to be. You can break. You can fall. You can become something terrifyingly beautiful. I did. I used to dream of going back, before the pills, before the surgery, before everything changed. But that person doesn't exist anymore. She died so that I could live. And maybe that's what transformation really is. Not magic, not punishment, but a death that births truth. Lena once said I wasn't chosen because I was special. I was chosen because I was ready. I didn't believe her then. I do now. Maybe everyone gets one moment like that, a moment when everything breaks and you get to decide what rises from the pieces. That was mine. So if you're watching this, trapped inside yourself, wondering, who am I really? Maybe this story isn't just mine. Maybe it's yours. Because sometimes the scariest thing you can do is stop pretending. And sometimes that's exactly how you're reborn.